I was driving cross-country, trying to cover as many miles as I could before exhaustion took over. It was late, and the highway stretched dark and empty in both directions. The gas station attendant at my last stop had warned me that there weren't many places to stay out here, but a few miles up the road, I spotted an old neon sign blinking vacancy. It was a small, rundown motel, the kind you only see in places where people don't stay long. The office light was on, but there was no one behind the counter when I walked in. I tapped the bell on the desk, and after a moment, a man emerged from the back room. His name tag read Glenn. He was thin, with tired eyes and a forced smile that didn't quite reach them. "Just passing through?" he asked as he pulled out the guest book. "Yeah, just need a few hours of sleep." He nodded and handed me a key. "Room 6. I paid in cash, and he pushed the register closed with a dull thud. "Keep the door locked," he added as I turned to leave. It wasn't exactly reassuring. The room smelled faintly of mildew, and the furniture looked like it had been there since the 80s. The bedspread was scratchy, the carpet stained. I tossed my bag on the chair and locked the door, sliding the chain into place. The old AC unit rattled, filling the silence with its low hum. I was too tired to care about the room's condition. I washed up, checked my phone, no service, and finally lay down. But sleep didn't come easily. Something felt off. The air felt too still, too heavy. The walls were thin, but the entire motel seemed eerily quiet. No other voices, no sounds of TVs from neighboring rooms, no traffic outside. Then, around 2 a.m., I heard it. A soft scrape came from the door. At first, I thought I had imagined it. But then it happened again. Slow and deliberate, like someone running a fingernail along the wood. I sat up, my breath caught in my throat. I reached for my phone, but still no signal. Then came a faint knock. Not loud, just a light tap, tap, tap. I stayed frozen. Maybe it was Glenn. Maybe he forgot to tell me something. Maybe it was just some other guest at the wrong door. I crept toward the peephole, hesitating before looking through it. No one was there. A chill crept up my spine. I stepped back, heart pounding. That's when I noticed it, the doorknob. It was turning. Someone was trying to get in. I lunged for my bag, fumbling for anything I could use as a weapon. My car keys, a flashlight. My hands were shaking as I gripped the flashlight and crept to the window, peeling back the curtain just an inch. A figure stood just outside the room, directly in front of my door. They weren't moving, just standing there, facing the door. No staff uniform, no luggage, no reason to be there. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the doorknob stopped rattling. The figure slowly turned and walked away, but they didn't go back toward the office. They walked toward the woods behind the motel, disappearing into the darkness. I waited, listening, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. 5 minutes, 10. I couldn't hear anything but the hum of the AC. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the chair, clutching my keys, waiting for the first hint of daylight. As soon as the sky turned gray, I grabbed my stuff and bolted to my car. Glenn was behind the counter when I walked in to drop off the key. He looked at me, then at the key, and then back at me. "Everything all right?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "Who else is staying here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He hesitated. "Just you." I felt my stomach drop. "Someone tried to get into my room last night." Glenn sighed, rubbing his temples. "I told you to keep your door locked." I stared at him, waiting for more, but he didn't offer any further explanation. I wasn't about to stick around to ask. I walked out, got in my car, and didn't look back. I don't know who that was outside my door or what they wanted, but I do know one thing. I'll never stop at another roadside motel again. I had been driving for nearly 14 hours straight, my eyes burning from exhaustion. I was halfway through a cross-country move, and my goal was to make it to the next major city before stopping for the night. But when I saw a lone motel sign flickering in the dark, exhaustion won. I needed rest. The place was called Pinewood Lodge, though there was nothing remotely lodge-like about it. A single-story building, faded yellow paint peeling off the walls, and a half-lit vacancy sign buzzing above the office. I pulled into the near-empty lot, parked near the office, and stepped inside. The man at the desk barely looked up. He was in his 50s, overweight, his thinning hair slicked back. He smelled faintly of cigarettes. His name tag said Dennis. $40, he grunted. I slid him a couple of bills, and he tossed me a key. Room 8. No visitors. Keep your door locked, he added. A strange thing to say, but I was too tired to care. The room was about what I expected. Dimly lit, musty, and dated. The mattress was stiff, the TV remote sticky. The air conditioner made a low rattling noise, but at least it worked. I locked the door, slid the chain across, and fell onto the bed, fully clothed. I just needed a few hours of sleep before getting back on the road. Sometime in the night, I woke up. A sound. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I heard it again. A soft shuffling right outside my door. I held my breath, straining to listen. Then, a gentle knock. I didn't move. I glanced at the alarm clock. 2:47 a.m. Another knock. This time a little louder. Then a voice, muffled through the door. Hey, can you help me? A woman. Her voice was shaky, barely above a whisper. I stayed frozen. Something about it felt off. Please, I think someone's following me. The motel was practically deserted. Who would be out there? And if she was in trouble, why wasn't she knocking on the office door? I sat up slowly, heart pounding. My gut screamed at me not to open that door. I crept to the window, careful not to move the curtain too much. The parking lot was dark except for the buzzing neon sign. But then I saw her. She was standing right in front of my door, barefoot, her hair hanging in front of her face. She was wearing a thin tank top and shorts, like she had just run out of a room. But something wasn't right. She wasn't looking toward the office. She was staring at the peephole. At me. I took a step back, my pulse hammering. Then, in a split second, she lunged at the door, jiggling the handle violently. Please, help me, she cried, pounding on the door now. Let me in. Please, he's coming. I backed away, heart in my throat. The chain rattled as the door shook, but it held. I grabbed my phone, no service. Then, just as suddenly as it started, she stopped. Complete silence. I waited, barely breathing. A minute passed. 2. I forced myself to check the peephole. She was gone. My eyes darted to the window, scanning the parking lot. Empty. No sign of her. No sound of running footsteps. Just the humming of the flickering neon sign outside. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. As soon as the sun crept over the horizon, I grabbed my keys and bolted to my car. The front office was locked. No sign of Dennis. As I backed out of my parking space, I noticed something in my rearview mirror. Room 9 right next to mine. The door was slightly open, the lock broken. I didn't check. I didn't want to know. I just drove. Fast. I never figured out who she was, or if she was even a guest at the motel. But when I finally got to the next town and pulled into a gas station, I overheard 2 truckers talking about Pinewood Lodge. They said a woman had been found there years ago, assaulted and left for dead in one of the rooms. The motel had gone downhill ever since. I never stopped at another roadside motel again. I was on my way to visit my brother in another state, taking the back roads to avoid heavy traffic. It was getting late, and the long stretch of road had nothing but empty fields and the occasional gas station. When I finally saw a flickering neon sign that read Lakeview Motel, I decided to stop for the night. The place was small and run down, the kind of roadside motel where people stayed out of necessity, not by choice. The parking lot had only 2 other cars. I walked into the office, where a middle-aged man with greasy hair and thick glasses sat behind the counter, watching an old TV. He barely looked up when I walked in. "Need a room?" he asked in a dull voice. "Yeah, just for the night." He grabbed a key from the rack behind him. "Room 5, $50. No loud noise, and don't answer the door for anyone you don't know," he said, sliding the key across the counter. I nodded, paid in cash, and took the key. His words unsettled me, but I figured it was just a general safety warning. The room was exactly what I expected. Stained carpet, flickering light, an old TV with static. I locked the door, slid the chain across, and dropped onto the bed. I was too tired to care about the peeling wallpaper or the damp smell. At around 1:30 a.m., I woke up, not because of a noise, but because of silence. The air conditioner had stopped humming. The bathroom faucet, which had been dripping when I arrived, had gone silent. The entire room felt wrong. Then I heard it, a creak, not from inside my room, but from the door leading to the outside walkway. I turned my head toward the window, my heart starting to race. The curtain was thin, and through the small gap, I saw a shadow moving just outside my door. Someone was standing there. I stayed completely still, barely breathing. The shadow moved slightly, then I heard it, tap, tap, tap. A light knock, not urgent, not loud, just deliberate. I reached for my phone. No service. Then came another sound, the soft click of the door handle being tested. Someone was trying to open it. My stomach dropped. The door was locked, but I wasn't taking any chances. I slid out of bed as quietly as possible and grabbed the chair, wedging it under the doorknob. My hands were shaking. Then something else happened. A whisper, low, raspy. "I know you're in there." I felt every hair on my body stand up. My heart pounded so loudly I thought whoever was outside could hear it. Then silence. I didn't dare move. I stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Finally, I heard footsteps, slow and steady, moving away from my door. I forced myself to peek through the curtain. A man was walking across the parking lot toward the tree line at the back of the property. I couldn't make out his face, just his shape in the dim motel lighting. He never looked back, just disappeared into the trees. I didn't sleep after that. As soon as the sun came up, I grabbed my things and went to check out. The man at the front desk was still there, watching his old TV. He looked at me once, then back at the screen. "Everything okay?" he asked, but his tone was indifferent, like he already knew the answer. "Someone tried to get into my room last night," he sighed, shaking his head. "Yeah, happens sometimes." I stared at him. "What do you mean, happens?" He took a sip of his coffee and finally looked at me. "Some guy likes to hang around at night. Been going on for a while. He don't break in, just checks the locks. If he finds an open one, well." I swallowed hard. "You don't call the cops?" He shrugged. "They don't do much. He's gone by the time they get here." I didn't know what to say. I just grabbed my bag and walked out. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I looked toward the tree line where the man had disappeared the night before. There was nothing there, just empty woods. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me as I drove away.